Hello and welcome to the January edition of the Corporate ESG 5 and 5 podcast, the podcast in which we spend 5 minutes exploring the key ESG trends set to shape the market. I'm Dean Shahfar from Debt and Financing Solutions, and I'll be taking you through this month's key topic, biodiversity. The alarming decline in biodiversity in the last decades threatens to bring disastrous consequences to environment and people, triggering knock-on effects on climate change. The United Nations Biodiversity Conference, the Convention on Biological Diversity, ended in Montreal on the 19th of December 2022 with a landmark agreement to guide global action on nature through to 2030. Representatives from 188 governments had gathered in Montreal for the past 2 weeks for the Importance Summit, which was chaired by China and hosted by Canada. After 2 weeks of intense deliberations, COP15 resulted in the adoption of the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework on the last day of negotiations. The GBF aims to address biodiversity loss, restore ecosystems, and protect Indigenous rights. The plan includes concrete measures to halt and reverse nature loss, including putting 30% of the planet and 30% of degraded ecosystems under protection by 2030, an ambition known as 30 by 30. The GBF consists of 4 overarching global goals: to protect nature, including halting human-induced extinction of certain species and reducing the rate of extinction of all species tenfold by 2050. Sustainable use and management of biodiversity to ensure that nature's contributions to people are valued, maintained, and enhanced. Fair sharing of the benefits from the utilization of genetic resources and a digital sequence information on genetic resources. And the adequate means of implementing the GBF will be accessible to all parties, particularly the least developed countries and small island developing states. In relation to this new framework, we wanted to explore the Global Reporting Initiative, GRI's, proposed new biodiversity standard, which aims to enable companies to publicly disclose their key biodiversity impacts, alongside improving the comparability and quality of biodiversity-related reporting for their stakeholders. The proposed standard updates the GRI's existing biodiversity reporting guidelines, which date back to 2016, responding to the latest authoritative insights. There are 5 key changes, so let's dive in. Firstly, the aim of the latest update is to help enable companies to report impacts across the supply chain, thereby highlighting supplier activities with the most noteworthy impact on biodiversity. The new standard will also help provide information on downstream value chain, given many impacts occur beyond a company's direct operations. Secondly, the update sets out an aim to help organizations prioritize attention on their most significant impacts, recognizing the challenge of scale in addressing biodiversity impacts. Thirdly, the proposed standard adds new disclosures to connect with the drivers of biodiversity loss, including climate change, pollution, and overexploitation of resources. Fourthly, the standard explores the human rights and introduces requirements for biodiversity-related impacts, such as those on Indigenous peoples, local communities, and workers. And finally, the proposed standard seeks to emphasize location-specific data to ensure businesses are transparent about the sites where their biodiversity impacts take place. Given that the CDP has announced plans to use the new standard, and that the GRI is participating in the Task Force on Nature-Related Financial Disclosures, the TNFD, we expect that the standard will influence emerging voluntary and mandatory disclosure systems worldwide and become an important standard for companies. The draft of the new standard is open for public comment until 28th of February 2023, at which time the GRI will consider feedback ahead of an expected publication date for the final standard in the second half of next year. As ever, we'll keep you up to date on developments. Thanks for listening to this month's Corporate ESG 5 and 5. I hope you found it useful. As always, please be sure to check out our monthly newsletter, linked in the description, for more on the key ESG trends shaping the market this month. And if you like this episode, please follow the channel, click the notification bell so you can listen to future episodes as soon as they're released. Thanks again, and see you next time.